Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm the Gnarly Gnome. This is Cincy Brewcast. It's the voice of Cincy Craft. And again, I say this, I think, every single episode, but man, we've got a good one tonight. We've got a fun one. We are quickly approaching one of my favorite seasons here in Cincinnati, and that's Bock season. And actually, I think when this show posts, it's this coming weekend is Bockfest. And so you need to know a lot of things about Bockfest, and we're going to talk about all of them. But we're at a really fun place that I think a lot of people that I've talked to still don't know makes their own beer. And that's Gabby's Cafe, Bocce Brewing Company. So we're going to talk about that too. We got a lot of things to cover. Let's start. Let's roll around the table. Everybody introduce yourselves. Tell people who you are and why you're sitting at this table.
Okay, I'm Jim Effler. I have been illustrating the Bockfest posters since 1995. Done 29 of them so far. Wow. And it's a project I look forward to every year to do, and got me involved in doing more beer stuff like labels for Christian Moorline and murals and posters for not just Bockfest but the Hudipole 14K.
If you've ever had dinner at the Moorline Lager House, sat at the bar and looked behind you and seen that big mural on the wall, that's your work. And if you've ever had one of those, one of the older Moorline beers where there actually was a painting on the artwork,
right. I
Moorline,
did those from around 2007. I did those for about 7 or 8 years, and they changed your packaging design, but
it's more modern, I guess. Now we'll talk about that with Moorline one of these days, and try to get them back onto the actual artwork on labels. But welcome to the show. I don't think you've been on the show before, right?
No, I stopped by your table down at Chris Kendall Market, not this past one, but the one before that, and we were tasting some beers that had whatever it is, that hot poker.
Oh yeah, we were hot poking beers.
I tasted that for the first time.
Man, it's so much fun. Well, welcome to the show. We'll definitely talk about some of the stuff that you've done with the artwork around Cincinnati and just Bockfest in general as we go.
Okay.
I'm Dino, DiStasi, and we're here at our place, Gabby's Cafe. And Jim has done a lot of work for us also on our labels for our marinara, and he's painted one of the most beautiful murals that I could ever say beauty to. He's done that for us, and a lot of our other artwork that we've got on our barbecue sauces, and here we are, like you said, Andrew, we are brewing Bocce Brewery here I'll turn it over to Joe Cornella and his crew.
Hey, my name's Joe Cornella, the general manager here at Gabby's Cafe and also the head brewer at Bocce Brewing Company. Cincinnati's newest and smallest brewery. Just brewing here in the basement and have some really good things going on. We're doing our own Bockfest here on March 2nd. We're going to have a couple Bock beers and some of our other styles that
Don't get too far ahead in the conversation. If you knock it all out right here at the beginning, it's going to be a short show.
We got plenty to talk about.
Before we need to do anything else, we need to drink a beer because it's a craft beer podcast. You got to drink beer during it.
Yes.
And this is one that I've not had. I mentioned this to Jim earlier that we've had a lot of beer on the show over the years, and this will be the 999th beer that we've drank on Cincy Brewcast.
999
so
bottles.
That one right there will be number 1,000, the one that's further down the table.
My.
So
That's awesome.
999th beer. Tell me about this beer. Tell me kind of inspiration, what it is. Tell me about it.
Sure.
Why do I drink it?
It's called Old Weirdo, and it was one of my brewers came up with it.
This might be the first beer named after me in the city.
It's definitely named after the brewer, and you can tell him I said that. So Joseph has been brewing since the 70s, home brewing. So he's brought a lot to the table. He's actually Dino's brother-in-law as well. So we're bringing a lot of family into this as well. And he came up with this, and at first I was just like, I was a little peculiar about it, and I was like, is this going to be good? And he's brewing it actually for a party that he's going to as well.
Right.
And right when we tasted it, I said, Joseph, that's going on tap.
It's
It's an Old English brown ale, and Old Peculiar was a beer in, I guess, Yorkshire, England, at a pub over there, and named Old Peculiar. And so it's a cousin of that. So he's been brewing it for for years.
You don't see a ton of English, actual English styles around anymore. I think it's one of those things that was really big kind of maybe in the 90s when there were a lot of people kind of getting into craft beer, and then it went away and American hops became the thing. And this is great. This is one of those beers that I expect if you're showing up at some kind of English pub or something and it's pulling from a cask, which obviously it's not, but it's great. It's earthy. It's I assume some kind of English hops going on there. That kind of dirty, earthy, hoppy thing that I enjoy so much. But still kind of has a little bit of a bitterness to it. That is a great beer. That's fantastic. I would tell everybody to come on down here and grab a pint, but I think we just drank it all.
I think Jim actually got the last one, but we actually now, the way that this went over the weekend especially, it was a front runner over the weekend, and I think we're going to do probably about a barrel of this here in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
And then get it on tap for good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's start there. Let's start the conversation. Tell me about kind of, you guys, you mentioned you are probably the smallest brewery in town. I think you are. I have to go look at the list again. There might be somebody that's about the same size as you, but I don't think so right now. Talk about the inspiration. How'd you guys decide to start making your own beer? You are Wyoming's first brewery.
Yes,
that's right. And oldest.
Oldest. And I still don't think they've brewed anything across the street yet. So there's nobody that's even trying to battle that. But talk about kind of how all this happened, and we'll go from there.
So about 3 years ago, I got laid off from a job due to COVID. They did a massive layoff. And I worked here prior before that job and got to know Dino a little bit and his family. And I saw Dino outside. We were walking down the street, and he comes up and says, "How's recruiting going?" I said, "Well, unfortunately, I got laid off." He goes, "Well, then you can come work for me now." I go, "Well, I guess I could."
Yeah.
So I came back, and we pretty much around the same time started talking about brewing beer. And all of a sudden, Dino called.
Why? Let's start. Why would you? Because there's a lot of people that are already trying to tell us there's too many breweries in Cincinnati and this and that, which I think is a load of baloney. But why? It's not that you're competing with the Rheingeists and the Magic. Complete opposite. They're still on tap here.
Exactly.
So why try to kind of jump in with your own beer?
Well, for me, basically working at Gabby's. Gabby's is a from scratch place. They do all their sauces. They do everything back in the kitchen from scratch. So why not do our beers from scratch? Why not create our own label, create our own image, and just get it out there and join the elite breweries in this country. You know, and it's a blast, and I have a great time doing it. And I wake up to come brew, and I'm like, this is my job. It's unbelievable. So
it's funny because, like, for me, there's almost like these separate categories of what it means to be a brewery, and there are some really great bigger breweries around Cincinnati. Even they're not big in the grand scheme of things, and they're doing great things. And then you've got places like this that it's a whole different ball game. It's like when I come in here, I almost don't expect to know what's going to be on tap because it's changing so quickly and because it's so small. And like, that's part of what I love about it. I come in here and I'm like, oh, what's new? That's, it's fun and it's exciting and it's a discovery each time. And it's on tap next to other things. And like, it just becomes a different type of atmosphere for me that I enjoy a lot. And it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Like
Thanks.
Joe said, we make a lot of our items here, our marinara. So what's happening in this building is really wonderful creativity and keeping everybody's juices flowing in their designing of the items that we serve out of here. So this was a great addition to finding Joe and his crew to design these beers, and it's a complex thing. I never realized when I make the items that I make, which is the marinara, I put a spoon in there, and that's the taste that I know. It's got such a timeline on it that it's amazing to watch how they make this happen. So I've been learning a lot, and they're doing a great job. It's a tasty product.
It is interesting. Like it's not more difficult than making a great marinara or a great soup or something like that. The making of a beer. but you can't check it at all
You
as it's
can't.
going.
You have to
Hurry up
wait.
and wait.
You're just all right. Let's
Gotta
see how
just
this
sit
one
there and
turned out.
wait.
It is a fascinating process in
Yeah.
that regard. You guys mentioned you're doing your own Bockfest here at Gabby's. Let's take a step kind of over to the bigger Bockfest side. Let's talk about Bockfest Cincinnati. You've been involved from, I won't say since the beginning, because Bockfest has had a very strange history throughout the years, but since the beginning of the modern Bockfest, pretty much, you've been involved with what's been going on. Talk about what is Bockfest to Cincinnati to you?
Okay, yeah, I was not involved with like the first 2 years at
Right.
Bockfest, but I've been involved with it ever since then. Yeah, Bockfest to me, it's just this festival that it's different. Like it's very eclectic, and you get a lot of creative people in the parade,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a less conservative side of Cincinnati. So,
Sure.
we're known for being conservative and that, and it's just something that's not that, and it's people just having fun, and tasting good Bock beers, and it's a lot different than like a festival like Oktoberfest, where we're
Sure.
kind of doing a smaller version of the Munich thing, and it's just a little more laid back and crazy too.
Sometimes it's very crazy. How does some of that personality of what Bockfest is, how do you incorporate that into artwork when you're doing it? Because I think the artwork kind of each year kind of sets the stage for how the whole festival feels to me. Like the artwork is the first thing that you kind of see. That's the first thing that comes out, and then from there, Bockfest kind of happens around it. How do you take the personality and how to put it into
Well,
each year?
I go to Bockfest and I take pictures down there, and I just get ideas, and it's like people ask me, how do you keep coming up with ideas? And there's just so much material there to work with.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I could ever run out of ideas for, fun Bockfest posters. And one good example, I guess, is the year 2000, where I came up with this idea of a Trojan goat instead of the Trojan horse. And the whole concept behind that was like sneaking a good time into the city of Cincinnati with this giant barrel of beer. And that was partly inspired by old photos where I saw they had these giant barrels that they would have in
Oh, yeah.
parades. And that wasn't like a goat or anything, but it was a huge wooden barrel.
Should have been.
So then, I did the artwork for it, and then Mike Cromer at Barrel House talked to some guys, Keith Baker and and they decided they were actually going to build this thing.
Mhm.
So it kind of inspired them to build it. And then it's been in most of the posters since then. It's kind of like a symbol of the Bock parade for sure.
It has not been in the parade for the last few years, though.
What happened to it, Jim?
That was a more of a Moorline issue, I believe, because I think Moorline technically owns him now, right?
I guess so. I didn't realize
He definitely
that.
lived at Moorline.
Yeah,
He definitely
yeah.
hung out there.
Oh,
Right.
And the last I was in the Moore Street building, he was still there. But then when the new ownership took over, I don't actually
Yeah,
know. I assume he's in their new facility.
Yeah, they had to take the neck and the head off to get it in the door. But yeah, they kept it inside the Moorline Brewery, which is not there.
I assume it is property of the Cincinnati Beverage Company, the more modern Moorline, which means I hope he's back this year, because he hasn't been there for a while,
good.
since pre-COVID, and
Yeah.
we need him.
They even had him in like the Reds parade. And
He
stuff
should be in
when-
everything. Like, it's just become like this crazy symbol of, because Oktoberfest, like you said, like it's a great time of year. It's a great festival. One of my favorite beer styles, Märzen's and Fest beers, and I love it. But you're trying to just replicate something that exists somewhere else in the world, which is a ton of fun. But it just it doesn't change. It doesn't evolve. It's just Oktoberfest. And whereas Bockfest lives and breathes and changes, and every year you're not really sure what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
You're not really sure what people are there, what kind of celebration happens around it. It is part of Cincinnati's beer culture, a big part of Cincinnati's beer culture, and so I enjoy the season so much.
Yeah, it
yeah.
does change over the years, and I've searched for Bockfest to see if there are any in Germany, and I didn't find anything.
I've seen a
online.
couple like that happen in the United States, a couple smaller ones that other
Right.
breweries will do. I've never heard of anybody in Germany. I don't even think they drink that much Bock beer in Germany. It's a very strange thing. I've said, and I don't know for a fact that this is true, but I've never seen anywhere else in the world where you can go and get this many different Bock beers made by this many different breweries at one time.
Yeah.
It just
And that's
doesn't
what
happen.
makes Cincinnati so unique. You know,
Yeah, and it's Bock. We chose Bock.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
great.
I mean, definitely when you look up Bockfest, the one that in Cincinnati is what comes up
Oh, yeah.
first.
Yeah.
There are other ones that are a little bit smaller, but
It's a very special thing, and I enjoy kind of as Bockfest has kept growing and evolving, seeing other places around town to embrace that too. Obviously, most of the places that you'll see celebrating Bockfest are going to be downtown, but there's places like Gabby's here. How long have you guys been doing your own kind of Bockfest celebrations here?
Well, this will be the 4th annual Bockfest.
Every time you hear a train horn, you have to drink.
Sounds good. There you go.
Yeah, we got to drink up.
That's right.
So we started at the year of COVID. So when they didn't do
Right.
it, they kind of just pushed it out to breweries and venues and things like that. And a good friend of mine, Bob Bolus, who owns Fibonacci Brewing, I went up and I was talking to him about it, and he told me about that. So I reached out to the person in charge, and it was inexpensive fee, and we got on their marketing and everything, and we just decided let's try this out. So we weren't brewing beer at the time, obviously. So we went around to a bunch of different breweries, like Third Eye. I think Mad Tree was on there, things like that, just to kind of have a few different Bock options. And it did really well. So we said, let's try it again. It was better than the first year. Let's try it again.
With the Pete Wagner band, that authentic German music. But
Yeah.
they do play Italian and Irish, and they do it all. So everybody's dancing. The
Again, it's
kids love
Bockfest.
it.
You can do whatever
Yes.
you want.
Yes.
Yeah, they're coming out again this year, and it's going to be just even better. We've teamed up with a couple foundations. The Brave Like Me is a local to Wyoming foundation. They're going to come and do Split the Pot and raise money for the dog park that they're putting in Wyoming, and also the Ken Anderson Alliance. They're actually coming and doing a raffle as well
That's
with us.
awesome.
So we're teaming up with a couple people. It's just going to be a great time. Authentic German food. We have two Bocks, and we're going to have about 3 or 4 on tap altogether.
Bratburgers, sauerkraut bowls, delicious, all homemade.
Yeah,
I love it.
all from scratch.
Any get a pizza because that's
Get a
would be
pizza.
good
That's
for
we
Bockfest.
might have to throw that in
Let's
there
write
now
that
you're
down.
saying it publicly.
Let's write that down.
That's what I do. I just mention things on the show, and then people have to do them.
I love Get. I'm married to a German girl.
Man,
so-
Geta is one of my favorite things in the world.
Yes.
We are currently looking for a goat. So we would like to have a live goat there.
Okay.
If anybody out there has
And they
a
can
goat.
have it back. We won't hurt it.
I again going back to Fibonacci, I think all of theirs are
Theirs are
working
spoken
that
for.
weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
They're
Yeah.
doing to mention Fibonacci since
Yeah.
we brought them up
That's right.
for that same weekend. On Friday, they're doing their kind of Bockfest celebration.
Yeah.
They are having their goats pull a little wagon with the beer from the little pin over
that's
there
cool.
over to the tap room.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
I feel like I need to go.
Yeah.
And I hope timing works out with the parade and everything that day that I can get to everything
You'll need
because
a helicopter.
I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to be willing to pull the beer over. I think they're going to throw a little fit and just sit there and not do anything.
We're not Clydesdales.
Goats have attitude. I think maybe that's what I love so much about it is that goats are not Clydesdales or they do what they want. They don't pay. They'll just stand on the hood of your car if they want to.
Yes,
just,
they do.
and eat your shoes. Let's talk about so Bocce Brewing Company as a piece of Cincinnati's brewery kind of scene. How do you see you guys fitting in with that, or do you think that you're kind of an outlier of it? Do you kind of just kind of do your own thing and kind of stay in your own little bubble, I guess? How does that work as such a kind of a small physical piece of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, we just kind of doing our own thing.
Right.
You know, we're not we're looking one day at a time.
And to be fair, you guys are new.
Yeah.
This Bockfest, you're calling this kind of the grand introduction of
Correct.
bocce.
Yeah.
The
official launch.
You guys have had beer since what, like August?
It's been about August. I think was our first one we tapped. Yeah.
But it's been hit and miss if you can come in here and actually get one because people keep drinking it all.
Exactly.
Yes.
We were doing small 5-gallon batches at a time at one point, and now we've got a nice barrel system. So
Right.
we've upped our production a lot, so we're able to keep up as much as we can.
Right.
It's a 3-man operation. You got me and Joseph, and then my dad, Chris. He's actually brewing with us as well. So we're just trying to keep up with who we are.
Right.
It's, as soon as you think of somebody as competition, I mean, you're going down. And I nobody in this city is competition to us.
The beer community
doing our
is
thing.
tremendous. They work well together.
Oh yeah.
We have some great connections to Humble Monk and Third Eye and all of them. I mean, Ryan guys, we have all kind of beers here still, and yet we have ours, going on the tap. So they all work well together.
And everyone's great. I mean, everybody's worked with us amazing. Nobody sees us as competition either. We've partnered up with Humble Monk with some things. And
Northern Row.
Yep, Northern Row's another
Which is
good
in the
one.
old Moorline building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you look at what some of the other places are doing and use that to kind of shape what you guys put on tap here, what you brew here? Like, oh, we don't need to make a just a standard IPA because we've got Truth and we have things like that in
Sure.
town that people already kind of are latched onto. We'll make an English brown,
Right. Old English brown, yeah.
Or the Midwest.
We actually have a Midwest IPA coming, and we brewed it one time, and we did a small 5-gallon batch, and it flew.
Yeah.
And it was a great balance between a New England and a West Coast, and then beautiful in color. And I was really proud of that beer. And we actually have a 1-barrel batch coming here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
But when I started out, I was wondering, I was like, what do I want to be the first beer on tap? I was thinking about a blonde. I was like, everybody can drink a blonde. I was thinking about a beer that everybody kind of across the spectrum wanted to drink, no matter, a lot of people don't like the hoppy, so let's leave the hoppy out a little bit. So I came up with an amber. So the amber ale went really well. So it's kind of our flagship right there. And then we did do a hoppy one because people do like hops. So we did the double IPA, and that one is, I think we've nailed that one pretty good. So
even then, it was still kind of a unique take on double IPA.
Sure.
You don't see a lot that are similar to it.
Yeah, I mean, people have told me, they're like, I don't drink IPAs, and this one I can
Right.
drink. So and that makes me feel good.
I find that kind of relationship interesting for places that have other breweries on tap and also make their own beer. Of how do they make that balance? How do they figure out, well, so and so is going to have this beer out and it sounds really good and we really want to have that on tap, so we need to make sure we don't have something that looks like that at the same time to kind of keep the taps balanced.
Sure.
You guys also don't have a ton of taps here. You don't have. You're not talking 30 taps where you can have a little bit of everything. You have to be very kind of deliberate about how you break those up and what is on tap at any given time.
Exactly. And that's why, one of my favorite beers from Third Eye is their Nirvana or Bust, a New England IPA. It's fantastic. So I knew we're not going to make a New England IPA. So
until they stop making that one.
Right. So, and we knew we have an amber, so we didn't want to bring in, somebody else's amber, to kind of compete with that. So we just want to make sure that when I buy the beer, they're all different styles. Now you can have a couple different IPA styles, a New England, a double, a Midwest, whatever. But I usually never have any of the same exact style next to each other.
Well, IPA is probably the perfect example of that. If there's such a wide spectrum of what that means anymore.
Right, exactly.
White IPA. There, nobody's had a white IPA right now. I need a white IPA, or black IPAs, or red IPAs. There's so many that people aren't brewing enough of.
Yeah.
I do want to dive into this other beer that's sitting in front of us.
Oh,
okay.
Jim.
Talk about this a little bit, and we'll have to get some more tasters or something here in a second. But tell me about this beer. Tell me where you got it, when you got it, why you got it, why you still have it.
So, yeah, I bought these two beers. I bought 6 of them back in 1994. So they are 30 years old. And it's
did they come in a 6-pack?
No.
Okay.
They were all separate. I think. I'm not sure. That was a long time ago, but I think I bought them separately.
Right.
So I bought 6 of them, and I drank one the first year, and then I would just drink one every so many years.
Right.
The last time I had one, I think was about 7 years ago. But anyway, it's a Sam Adams Triple Bock. I bought them because I liked Bock beer and I liked Doppelbocks, and I thought, well, let's go to the next level, the triple. But it's probably best if you don't think of it as a beer, because it's not. It doesn't really. I mean, a Doppelbock is more similar to a Bock than either one of those are to the Triple Bock. It's just a totally different type of alcoholic beverage.
This was kind of the first move that Sam Adams made into their kind of extreme beer series, which we all know now as Utopias.
Yeah.
Probably the only thing that's left of it.
Is that still going, right, the Utopia?
Oh, yeah. Every 2 years they release it.
That's a good beer.
I love it. I think it's fantastic, but it is very different. Like, you can't think of it as a beer. You have to think of it almost as a spirit or something like that. It's a very unique thing.
What's 27 or
something like that? Yeah,
it's up there.
And these are up there too. These are probably.
I don't really remember
18,
what I need to open.
Do you need a knife? I've got one behind me if you need one.
He's got a Swiss knife on him. Andrew, always prepared.
I think the cork just pulls out, if I remember. But yeah, like I said, it's been a long time.
Jim, be careful.
Be the first time somebody cuts their finger off on the show. That'd be fun. Definitely going on TikTok if you cut your finger off right now.
Yeah, that'll be possible.
So this beer, from what I understand, I believe that there is still like remnants of this that are in what we drink today of Utopias. I think that they had some of this still in barrels, and it's kind of been mixed in and blended and all this stuff into other things, I believe. I know I believe right after Triple Bock was the Millennium, something like that.
Oh, it broke.
Oh,
You're going to need
I got a corkscrew.
Yeah,
we got a corkscrew. It's 30 years old, Jim.
I don't have one of those in my bag, although I should. Kind of.
We got them.
All right.
I don't think that I've ever tried this beer.
This will be a first for Jim.
I'm excited.
Jim, you said how many did you buy originally?
6.
6?
Do you want to do it? Yeah,
I'll try it, Joe.
What do you have any memories of what it tasted like the last time you had it?
Yeah.
He was describing
Well, that'll work.
Fell right back into the bottle.
I think I had Utopias one time. I think that was probably the most similar thing I can think of that I've ever had.
Go ahead,
that to compare it to would be a Utopias.
Right.
So we'll just take a little bit.
Andrew, here, I'll pour you some.
Oh, thank you.
You're the host.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Joe.
There is definitely a similar aroma to Utopias, like that kind of port kind of.
Smell.
Yeah, it's.
Oh man,
Gross, guys.
Yeah, gross.
Gross.
To Bock beer and whatever this is.
Cincinnati.
But again, going back to kind of that personality of Bockfest, how appropriate that there is a triple Bock that is not really a Bock beer, but it's Bock. You can do whatever you want.
That is smooth.
Yeah, it's
real
a different
smooth.
kind of drink. I mean, there's no head on it or anything. It's just
That's all right with an ABV like this.
Oh yeah, it's like a more sessionable version of Utopias. Sessionable at 17%.
Have they made this since? Like, do they make it every
No,
year?
they made it for like 4 years, I believe.
something. Yeah, I think
This
that's
was the
about right.
first year they did it at 94. 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, they
94. Yeah, it was 4. It's 94, 95, 96, and 97.
So it's got maple, you said? And
Yeah.
It's a lot
you
of
definitely
salt.
taste the maple for sure.
Yeah.
Salt and,
It tastes well. I don't know if it has salt, but it has kind of a salty.
It's that kind of
To me-
umami kind of thing.
So yes,
yeah.
and that's what Jim said.
Well,
So immediately I'm like, well, where's the rice?
yeah.
Because
some people have said that it
There-
tastes like soy to them. I don't.
I
maybe
get
slightly,
where people
but-
are going with that.
Yeah.
I've had Dark Lord that tastes way more like soy sauce than what this does. I enjoy this a lot.
That's pretty good.
Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
That's,
You're welcome.
um,
There's one more.
It's
We wanna-
fantastic.
this is the 1,000th beer on the show, and I think it's appropriate. I think it's an appropriate one
Yeah.
for
That is
1,000.
cool.
Absolutely.
1,000 beers.
I enjoy that.
Yes, that's right. 999, and now.
Now 1,000.
1,000. That's great.
Oh,
How do you
I don't
guys?
think I can go much past these two.
Well, probably.
They're good.
I know.
Where do you guys think Bockfest goes from here? How does it continue to evolve and find its place as? I mean, we've seen. OTR was the heart of Bockfest for a long time and still is, but it was at a time where we needed to shine a light on OTR. We needed people to go there. We needed people to kind of bring life back into the city after it kind of lost a lot of that shine. I don't know that that's the case anymore. I think that some of the suburbs and some of the places that some of the neighborhoods that have some exciting things going on probably need as much light shined on them as OTR does. Is that the evolution that we're going to see? Is that where it should go? Is that?
I don't know. I mean, it's all kind of up in the air. I just in November I was doing a talk at the brewery district, and even at that stage they didn't have anything locked down as far as where it was going to be, other than it wasn't going to be back in that park again where it was for 2 years.
Oh, you mean the mud pit?
Yeah. It rained last year. It rained on Friday, and I don't know if they canceled the parade, but they canceled.
They technically canceled the parade. I think they've canceled the parade a couple times the last few years, but for anybody that knows Bockfest, even if you cancel the parade, there's still going to be people having their own parade, even if they have to stay on the sidewalks.
Even in a snowstorm, they went through it, the parade. But I don't know where it's going to go. Yeah, well, definitely in the beginning, one of the goals was to bring attention to Over the Rhine, and I think Bockfest helped to do that to some extent. Sure. And now that it's kind of like crowded down there, it's harder. It can be hard to park and that kind of thing. I'm not sure where it's going to go. I mean, they did Moorline Lager House is part of it, so I mean, people can go down there and then take the tram up. Or
thank God for the streetcar. Man. I remember some of those early days for me of Bockfest, and by early days we're talking. The Lager House was open, so like the first year or two of the Lager House, and walking from OTR all the way down to the Lager House to grab a beer down there too, to kind of spread it out. And man, that's a long walk when it's cold outside.
The issue is, it's a time of the year where you can either hit a day where it's 72 degrees or 22 degrees.
Yeah, or you could have both. Friday could be beautiful and Saturday could be snow.
Instantly.
I'm just don't want rain.
Yeah,
that's the main thing. I mean, it can
cold
be a little
we
chilly,
can work with, but
rain,
even in July, if it's raining, that wipes out everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that bringing some attention back to some of the suburbs and some of the places that have fun things going on, to me, that's I know that the Bockfest organizers probably disagree with that, but I think that's what we need to see more of. We need to see more kind of community Bockfest happening, and you guys seem to be kind of doing exactly what that is and exactly what I want to see from that. So I appreciate that.
And Bockfest in downtown goes for 3 days. We go for 6 hours. So if you don't, go Friday, go Sunday, go Saturday, but come see us as well.
And go to both.
Exactly.
Well,
I definitely want people to go to both.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what happens with Oktoberfest, there's the biggest one is downtown, but there's a bunch of them around in the suburbs, and they're not usually on the same weekend. But I mean, it could evolve into a situation like that where there's like the one main one and some like a little bit smaller ones in different places. And sometimes people just want to do the smaller one, like they don't want to get in the big crowd and that, and want something a little bit more tame or something. Sure. So that would open up some options for that.
Let's talk about everybody's craft beer journey. I'm interested to hear how everybody kind of found their way into craft beer, because for a lot of people it's a very different type of road to get in there. Jim, how did you find your way into craft beer? Early adopter of it, or did you kind of stumble into it, or?
Well, let's see. I started liking beers that were other than the American traditional beer
Sure.
after I went to Europe in 1978 and was in England for a little bit, in Germany, and tasted the different types of beer that they had. It was like, you might have a Heineken or something, but it wasn't like we had that many options on beer. So then when Hudipol came out with Christian Moorline in 1982, that became my staple. I would be down at Arnold's drinking one of those, and we had it at our wedding when we had our reception on a riverboat. We had Moorline on tap then in 1986, and
I did drink one of those recently too. One of the old bottles of
really?
Moorline Select Lager. It was terrible.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
It's definitely don't drink.
it probably
beer
just
from the
doesn't last.
70s or the
It
80s,
doesn't last
now.
that long unless it's really high
It's
alcohol.
not Triple Bock.
So just from there, I started getting into the craft brewery. I Main Street Brewery opened up right
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
a few blocks up the street from where my studio was on 7th and Main at that time.
Barrel House.
And both of those had me doing labels for them. Although
Your studio was on 7th and Main?
7th and
I
Main,
didn't
yeah.
know.
It was above Walt's Business Machine. It was Air Studio. For the first 20, 25 years of my career, I painted with airbrush.
Right.
Anyway, so we had Air Studio.
I went to Antonelli College.
Oh, okay.
At 7th and Main there.
Okay, yeah. That was right diagonally across the street. So anyway, I started doing labels for them and just, got into the craft beer from there.
I remember going to Canada, and this is when 3-2 beer was about all you could get, So we're in Canada, and you're drinking Molson, and you don't realize it, but it's 6%. And you're like,
Right.
oh, okay. But what
I
happened?
don't know why this tastes better, but this
Yeah,
is really good.
It's good. But up there, they had American beers, but they were brewed in Canada.
Right.
So they would have Miller and everything, but it was brewed up there. And then Joseph, who is my brother-in-law, was a home brewer, and whenever we had a birthday party, he'd bring the beer. And it's like, wow, this is really good, Joseph. And Joe's got him working here with us. But I have one more story, and I met Jim Cook before Sam Adams even got going in 1984. We didn't know each other. He was at a food show that I was attending, and he's setting up a little table. Meanwhile, the big guys have got these huge bars as big as our restaurant in the middle
Right.
of the Chicago food show, and he's like, he pours me a whole beer at 10:30. He goes, I'm trying to put the flavor back in this stuff. They've taken it all out. And so there he was with his campaign to get, beer back to flavor.
Right.
And he helped a lot of other breweries get their starts.
Oh yeah. I wonder if I ever get a chance to sit down and talk to him again. I'm curious to know like if he thinks it was easier to sell beer then or if it's easier to sell beer now. Because that coming up against that and walking into this and looking at what the beer landscape was in the United States then, to try to start a brewery was crazy. Like it was dumb. You didn't do that. But it seems like it was a really easy sell. Like, look, here's the beer. Try this. And like done. Like, of course you're going to drink that beer because it tastes better. But then now, like you have to try to convince somebody if you're a brewery to buy your beer over everybody else's beer.
Sure.
And I'm talking about bigger kind of distributing breweries. That to me, that seems like a very daunting task too. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear kind of how he,
So you interviewed him on your podcast?
Once, yeah, a
nice.
very very short kind of conversation. I've
That's
met him a
awesome.
few times, but never really gotten to sit down and have a long conversation with him.
He wouldn't remember me. It was thousands. It was a National Restaurant Association up at McCormick Center, and honest to God, I should have stepped behind that table with him and said, "I'll hang out with you."
He's one of
Dino,
those.
everybody remembers you. Man.
He's one of those guys too, like Jim Cook. Like even if he doesn't remember you, he will make you feel like he does. He is.
He's
just,
a heck of a
just
marketer.
Really,
Every
really,
time he's talking, he's holding a bottle in front of him,
Mhm.
and I've copied that. Whenever I get a shot on TV, I hold the marinara in front. Now I'll be holding the bocce up there
That's
too.
yeah, and he, label out.
You got
Label
both. You got
out.
both, right? Yeah.
What about you?
So, coming out of the Navy in 2003, I was always a Bud Light, Coors Light guy. There's really nothing,
Thank you for your service.
no problem. There was nothing. We drank the cheapest stuff. We were poor, so we just drank whatever was cheap. And
I'll let that slide because of your service.
And then fast forward a little bit. I managed a restaurant down in Mount Adams, and I did the beer order and started getting some more craft beers in and stuff like that, and started becoming taking a liking to some of them, and then I actually moved to Denver for a few years, and that was
There's
at
a
the
couple
time
good
like
brewers there.
yeah, and that was like the mecca of craft beers at one time. So I really started to differentiate what was craft beer, what was whatever.
Right.
And when I still didn't like IPAs, I'm still not an IPA guy. So Bob at Fibonacci, I was talking to him about it, and he loves hops. He's a hophead, and he'll drink the hoppiest beers, and he says you just don't know how to drink IPAs. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So he goes, well, there's session IPAs, there's this IPA and this IPA, New England IPA, and you got to understand which IPA you want to drink. So I started doing that, and I realized he's right. There are IPAs I like. So I really just hit hard. Probably I'd say around 2013. And I've always been interested in brewing beer, and I started brewing beer when we kind of figure out this is what we want to do. So really only about 3 years ago, I started doing some home brew, and made some contacts around the city and from Listerman's and from Humble Monk and all that. So.
He has a great network. They all connect with each other.
Right. Has that changed kind of what beers you tend to reach out for when you're grabbing a beer? Since the home brewing side of it, like
sure.
The commercial, even the commercial brewing side of it, like the idea that you see a new style, you're like, oh, I need to try that and see what that is or how they did this, or
That's why we're bringing in the Midwest IPA.
Right.
It was not even, I think probably a month and a half ago. I went to a Wings and Rings over by Jungle Gyms.
Sure.
With my sister, and we were sitting at the bar, and it had a tap handle. It said exclusive, and I said, "Let me try that one." So I tried it, and I was like, "What is this?" And they said Midwest IPA. And
Do you
I was
know
like,
what beer it was?
It was Great Lakes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "This is fantastic." So I was thinking, I was like, "I want to make something very similar. I want to, this inspired me." So I created this recipe, and it came out, and it is, to me, is a great balance between, like I said, New England and a West Coast. I mean, I like this one a lot.
It's exciting. Yeah, I love anybody that can get excited about what they're making, because in anything, any kind of creative endeavor, like there's so much kind of soul-sucking commercialism that can come from that, to trying to pay your bills. And so there's a lot of people that and I'm sure there's people that are every day making truth at Rhine Guys, like, God, the last thing I want to do today is just make truth. Or you talk the art side, there's somebody that's working for some kind of firm, and they're just cranking away at some kind of stupid Instagram content. Like, that's the last thing they want to do today. But that's where sometimes things fall. And so, like, when people can get excited over something they're making, I love that. Or even food. How many people are people are just flipping a burger on a grill and just miserable about it. Like, it's just to make something that makes you feel good, and like you can see people enjoying it and see people connecting with it. You're
right.
That's the center of all of this when you make things.
Keeping everybody involved in the creativity of it.
Yeah.
They all contribute. Everybody here gets to throw ideas into the mix, and we it's fun to watch it happen.
It's hard for some places to manage that, though. It's hard for some places to kind of foster that and let that happen.
It's good to have. If you can do it, we real proud of everybody here and how they can make it, their own, put their signature on it.
Yeah.
We try it all, and I was like, okay, that's a good one. And it goes out onto the menu.
And this crew takes instruction very well.
Yeah.
You ask them to do something even new, or maybe even something out of their comfort zone, they try it.
Right.
They try and do it, and they respond to it, and it shows in our food.
How has the staff kind of embraced the brewery side of this? Have they kind of figured it out yet? Do they do they embrace the idea that there's beer that is made here?
First you have the kitchen and all the flavor coming out of there with the aromas. Now there's coming out from the basement, and they smell the mash.
What
And
is
everything.
what is that you're cooking today?
What's going on?
Exactly. Well, I keep the basement door open for a reason.
Right.
You know, my manager, she shut it one time. I go, no, keep that open. I want that smell to come out.
It's my favorite smell.
It's
in the world.
incredible.
I love it. I love
It's
it.
incredible. But yeah, I mean, they've responded to it very well. I mean, the majority of them have. I mean, some of them. I mean, it still hasn't even really hit me yet that we're a brewery here in Cincinnati. Probably not until Bockfest, but they've definitely been responding to it, and I've been trying to teach them, thing or two about hops, and some of them, are still in high school, so they're like, I don't even know what beer is. I have no idea. I remember
Yes,
my
they
dad.
do.
My dad drank a beer called Bud Light or something.
Bud Light.
I that's my only fear about craft beer right now is like that younger crowds that like not even that my dad was drinking Bud Light or Miller Light or something that my dad Mad Tree, that's what my dad drank. I'm not drinking that stuff. Like that's scary to me to think that like we're starting to enter into that kind of world now.
We'll see.
If my kids decide not to drink craft beer, we're gonna have problems. Is there anything you guys think that people don't know that you want them to know, either about Gabby's or about Bocce or about what you do, Jim?
Jim, tell them some more about this. This gentleman is creative. And I'm gonna just explain. Like Jim can take what you're thinking from your head. There's no, and he starts to etch and creates the image.
That's something.
He creates the image off of what you're thinking, and that's incredible.
As a photographer and a videographer, and people, I create things based on things that are already there. The idea that you can take an idea and then build something off of it. I love that. I've always wished I was able to do that.
He took our barbecue sauce. We were like, well, there's hundreds of barbecues out there. And he created a label that when people walk by I took the original and have it hanging on the wall, and I hear the comments. What's going on there?
Yeah,
that's exactly what we wanted everybody to say. So they're like, that's not just a barbecue sauce. What's that? What's going on in that picture?
Yeah,
it's a hog, and it's a girl that's on the hog with a barbecue brush, and the thing is broncoing out of control.
It'll make more sense when you come here and see it.
You got to see it, everybody. You have to come see it.
Sounds like a whole new festival to me. Bockfest with the goats, and you've got
That's what he does.
And Jim also did the Gabby's logo and the logo on the back of the shirts as well. So.
And if when you walk in Gabby's from the front door there, you see a big mural on the wall that he did too that is just gorgeous.
Of Lake Como.
Yeah.
Not the one at Coney Island, Cincinnati, over in Italy. He did that. It's beautiful. And the people that have been there, they just stare at it.
Coney Island, rest in peace.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's bring that up.
We're going to have a Bockfest down there.
I guess I have an imagination, and I just love having that come out. Starting with pencil and paper and just building it up and going through sketches and just coming up with ideas till I find one that, means something to me. And I just, this is cool. And then just build on it.
Awesome.
Some of that's hard to explain how it comes into your head. It just does. From seeing all the images from Bockfest and all the artwork I've created over the years and all the artwork I've seen in my life, looking at what other people do and then just having it all come together in your head.
I've heard a lot of songwriters talk about that sometimes, of like this idea of like just kind of snatching something out of the air, like this idea, this thing, and you don't really know where it comes from, but
doesn't always
from something that you can't really understand.
And the end product isn't really always what you saw. Like sometimes what you see is kind of like, it's almost like animated or something, like things are happening. And you have to, when you're doing what I do, you have to settle on one still image. There's no animation to it. So you got to find that one image that has that animated quality in it, but it's not really moving or anything.
How often do you get like halfway through something and be like, man, I picked the wrong part of that animation that was in my head and I just had to change?
I just did that on last year's Bockfest. I mean, I had this really tight sketch going, and it was a parade scene, which I ended up doing, but in my first sketch, you were looking down on the people, and I got to the point, I kept thinking, well, how am I going to show this is happening in Over the Rhine? I'll figure that out later. There'll be something laying on the ground. There'll be a street sign or something. And I just could not make it look like it had anything to do with Over the Rhine. And it was a really tight drawing. And I just scrapped it and started over and did the whole scene from a different point of view. So, yeah, sometimes you get pretty far along and you have to either change things minimally or start over.
It's been, when I, again, as a photographer, it's easy. You just take another picture and you just keep taking pictures until the thing is the thing. And then you can kind of go off of that. But I've noticed that a little bit as I've gotten more into videography, that, once you get into editing something, like that process of like, you have this vision of how this whole thing kind of fits together, the story fits together, and you get halfway through it and you're like, oh crap, that's not the story. This is the story. And then you have to go back to the beginning and start again and kind of redo that whole thing like that. I guess that's the beauty of it though, right?
Yeah.
Being able to kind of play around with stuff.
And now, artists are dealing with the new thing, artificial intelligence. And it's like some of that stuff that I see is actually really good, which is a scary thing. It's like they can knock these things out in minutes. Like it would take me a month to do.
It's scary, but it also, like, if you can, I still think that there will always be room for actual creators and people that are creating real art.
Yeah.
But especially as the business side of my life, man, the time that I can save on some stuff with AI is crazy.
And then there are people like my old business partner from Air Studio, Dave, like, he's doing a lot of that. And, he's like, it's going to be, what he said was, it's going to be the people that know how to control it. That, if you can control the AI, then you're going to come up with good images. But a lot of people can't. And that's why you see so many people with six fingers.
Weird hands.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, they can do beautiful faces, but a lot of them have 6 fingers.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into
that's
that.
a whole
The one
show
thing I like
itself.
about what I do is there's this original oil painting. And I do
gorgeous.
Sell those too, even if you did things digitally. And there's nothing wrong with doing artwork digitally. People do a great job with that. And there's really nice stuff being done. But I kind of like the fact that there's an original oil painting that I painted every brush stroke
valuable.
on
But
that
It's
thing.
incredible.
Again, not to keep bringing it back to photography, but that's like my frame of reference.
Yeah.
Digital photography, halfway through when I was in school, digital photography started to hit to that point where it's like, okay, this is actually a thing that, like, professionals are able to use this. And since then, that's all it is. Obviously, film has all but gone away, unless you're like a crazy artist and you still love that tactile kind of act of loading film into a camera. And sometimes things turn out and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they turn out different than you thought they were going to. You have to take it to a lab and get it processed and then get it printed. And that artwork has become so much more valuable and so much more personal than it was even before when it was normal. So like as AI starts to kind of be more normal, as digital artwork becomes more normal, stuff like that becomes so much more personal to me and so much more valuable, and so it feels better.
Yeah, and I do work on. I'm sorry.
Did Andrew see your book?
Yeah, I'm gonna let him have that after the show. Anyway, so I would just want to say I do work on the digital image a little bit. Like I'll have a professional scan done, and sometimes if there's like type on it, or I might add some of the type digitally, or I might clean up a little thing here and there digitally. But for the most part, it's almost all painting.
Right.
And that was a decision I made when things started going digital. Was I learned how to do things in Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, but at the same time, everybody was going that direction. There was so many more artists to compete with. I was like, I think I'm going to go back to oil paints, that I used at the Art Academy.
That makes sense to me though. Like it make like as something becomes the norm, the thing that now isn't the norm is.
Plus, I feel I'm more confident with this. I don't think my digital work compares to my, traditional work. So I'm sticking with it.
There still is some. I haven't seen a lot of digital work that I think has the same kind of feelings. Like it still isn't quite there yet. Like it's
some people can do it.
It's
some
getting
people,
close.
Some people can do it, I think. But yeah, it's just a different way of doing things now.
All right. So to remind people, Bockfest here at Gabby's Cafe, March 2nd.
Yeah, from 12 to 6. We'll be open all day from 11 to 9, but the festival really goes from about 12 to 6. Got a nice Oompa band and a Pete Wagner band, and great German food, Bock beers. Hopefully a goat, a couple of good foundations.
Hopefully a goat, even if it's a grumpy goat.
Not a herd of goats.
If you have a goat and you want to bring them by, go for it.
Bring your own goats.
Right.
Them on a leash.
I'll put a link in the show notes to the Facebook event and
Cool.
Some links to where people can find out more about you guys. But if you don't already know that they're making beer here, now hopefully you know, and hopefully you'll come down here, grab some lunch, grab some dinner, drink a few beers. This is I love stopping here kind of in the afternoon, grabbing a beer or two and hanging out. It's just such a fun kind of laid back neighborhood. It's perfect. I love it.
Right.
I enjoy it a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us on the show. I appreciate it.
I just wanted to add something.
Yeah.
So I will be down at Arnold's on March 1st, Friday. And I'm going to stay down there. The parade leaves from there. I'm going to be down there signing posters till probably about 8 o'clock. And then on Saturday, I'll be at the Moorline Lager House in the afternoon from 1 to 5 o'clock. And then I'm going to head up to Rheingeist and Northern Row. I don't know the exact times on that yet, but it'll be...
Nobody knows the exact times of anything halfway through Bockfest on Saturday.
So that's my schedule.
I will probably see you both days because I'm going to be down there all weekend, raising all kinds of hell. Everybody come down to Bockfest, come here for Bockfest. Just drink a bunch of Bock beer that weekend and
Absolutely.
And embrace kind of the weirdness of all of this stuff. Thank you guys. We will be back next week.
Thank you, Andrew.
Don't know who we're
very
talking
much.
to next week. I don't think it's I won't say because I don't know if it's actually in ink yet. So somebody, and it's gonna be good, and we're gonna drink beer and it's gonna be fun. I can tell you we probably won't be drinking Triple Bock on that show because nobody else has it.
1,000 beers, 990.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you guys very much. If you like the show and you want to support it, go to thegnarlygnome.com/support. I appreciate you. Cincy Brewcast, the voice of Cincy Craft.